Let's come back home now, and the clean-up has begun for residents of Port Hedland after tropical cyclone Heidi crossed the West Australian coast yesterday.
Engineers are still trying to restore power to thousands of homes, and the ABC's Jane Norman joins us on the phone from Port Hedland. Jane, paint a picture for us as to just how bad the damage is.
Well, Bev, we drove in from the airport yesterday, and it does look like, a really bad storm has hit. You sort of drive through and these huge road signs have just been flattened. At the airport itself, a palm tree has been split in half. As you get closer towards the coast, there are just houses with a lot of water damage. One of the, I suppose, aspects of this cyclone is that it brought a lot of rain, and this is basically desert up here. So having huge puddles of water and floodways filled is very unusual. So there's just a whole heap of water around, and a lot of people sort of dealing with flood damage.
Now, I noticed that authorities, the fire and emergency authorities, have said that it is okay for people to go back to their homes in terms of the immediate danger. How many people were sort of had to leave their homes during the cyclone?
Well, it's quite difficult to actually ascertain a number because people up here, it's quite a close-knit community. So a lot of people who evacuated, may have stayed with friends. So the evacuation centre was actually expecting about 200 people to camp there on Wednesday night, and it only ended up being about 60 people. So we know that houses in low-lying areas all along the sort of foreshore and port at Port Hedland were told to leave their homes on Wednesday night. And so we know that 60 definitely did, but, authorities say there may have been many more who basically just went in and spent the night with friends. And, of course, up here, cyclone parties, are quite popular. We were told that, the shelves of supermarkets were basically empty, and people were sort of stocking up on some bottles of wine, so they could sit with their friends and pass, weather the storm together.
One way of getting through it. And, of course, there are lots of power outages as well. Authorities are still working quite hard to get power restored. Any idea how long that's going to take?
Well, it's quite a slow process because along with all of the trees that have been down, there have been a lot of power lines and power poles that have also snapped. Interestingly, the MP for the Pilbara, Tom Stevens, yesterday sent out a press release saying, venting his frustration about the fact that, for the Pilbara, they still have basically power poles and lines. And he was saying that it's really about time they had underground power here for a place which is prone to cyclones. So most of those power outages are in South Hedland, which is about 10 kilometres from Port Hedland. And there are, huge housing estates there and huge caravan parks where people live because housing is at such a premium here. And they're all, using generators or going to live with friends or family while that power is restored.
As you indicated with that sense of the parties that go on while the cyclones take place, I guess it is a community that is used to this kind of weather, and I'm sure they are pretty much getting on with it today. Is that the impression you're getting from people?
Yeah, absolutely. We landed yesterday just as the red alert was lifted. Of course, that's the highest level where it is basically illegal to actually leave your house. And so the airport was open and we were able to fly in. And at that point, people it was quite interesting just starting to sort of emerge from their homes and survey the damage. And even late yesterday, we heard chainsaws, people just trying to remove trees that had fallen and power lines safely. So I suspect today, now that the rain has certainly passed and most of I suppose the cyclone and flood risks have passed, people really are just getting on in earnest with that clean-up.
Some, I believe, with a big hangover. Jane, thank you. Thanks so much for your time this morning.
It's a pleasure.